The ocean. The ocean. A vast, shimmering world covering more than 70% of our planet. We often think of its sunlit shallows, teeming with colorful fish and vibrant coral reefs, all powered by the sun's energy through photosynthesis. But what happens when you leave the light behind? What happens when you descend into the crushing darkness of the abyss miles below the surface? For a long time, we believed it was a barren, lifeless desert. We couldn't have been more wrong. Welcome, everyone, to a journey into the deep. Today, we're diving past the reach of the sun into a realm where the rules of life are completely rewritten. We're exploring the incredible world of chemosynthetic havens. Oases of life that thrive not on sunlight, but on chemical energy bubbling up from the Earth's very core. It's a world more alien than you can imagine, populated by creatures straight out of science fiction. So, grab your virtual submarine gear because we're about to descend into the abyss. Our journey begins as we plunge deeper and deeper. At around 200 meters, the last rays of sunlight fade to nothing. This is the beginning of the twilight zone. By the time we hit 1,000 meters, we've entered the midnight zone. It's perpetual night, the pressure is immense, and the water is near freezing. For centuries, this was the limit of our imagination. But then, in 1977, a discovery near the Galapagos Islands changed biology forever. Scientists in the submersible Alvin were exploring the seafloor, expecting a desolate landscape. Instead, they stumbled upon something astounding. Towering chimneys, some as tall as buildings, were spewing what looked like black smoke into the frigid water. These weren't fires. They were hydrothermal vents. Superheated, mineral-rich water, heated by magma deep within the Earth's crust, was jetting out from the ocean floor. The smoke was actually a blizzard of dissolved minerals precipitating as they hit the cold seawater. And clustered around these vents in this toxic, high-pressure, lightless environment was an explosion of life. An entire ecosystem, completely independent of the sun. This was our first glimpse of a chemosynthetic haven. So how does it work? On the surface, plants use photosynthesis, sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to create energy. Down here, the primary producers are bacteria. These are no ordinary bacteria. They're extremophiles, lovers of extreme conditions. They perform a process called chemosynthesis. Instead of sunlight, they use the chemical energy stored in compounds like hydrogen sulfide, that rotten egg smell, which is abundant in the vent fluid. They harness this chemical energy to convert carbon into the organic matter that forms the very base of this deep-sea food web. In essence, these microbes are eating poison and turning it into life. And the life that's built upon them is just breathtaking. Perhaps the most iconic residents of these hydrothermal vents are the giant tubeworms, Riftia, Pacheptila. These can grow up to 8 feet long, standing in dense thickets around the vents like a bizarre crimson-tipped forest. They have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive system at all. So how do they eat? Well, they don't. Instead, they have a unique symbiotic relationship with those chemosynthetic bacteria. The bright red plume at the top of the worm acts like a gill, absorbing hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, and oxygen from the water. The worm's specialized blood then transports these chemicals to the trillions of bacteria packed inside its body, in a special organ called a trophosome. The bacteria do their chemosynthesis magic, creating sugars and nutrients. They produce so much food that they feed both themselves and their host worm. It's a perfect partnership, a living factory powered by volcanic chemistry. But the tubeworms are just the beginning. The vents are crowded with other strange and wonderful creatures. Look closer, and you'll see swarms of blind white crabs scuttling over the rocks. These crabs, like the Kiowa crabs, often called yeti crabs, have hairy claws that they use to farm bacteria, which they then scrape off and eat. It's like having your own personal garden on your hands. There are also giant white clams, Calyptogena, and dense beds of mussels, Bathymodiolus, both of which also rely on symbiotic bacteria living in their gills to survive. And where there are grazers, there are predators. Saurid fish, often called epouts, lurk in the shadows, preying on smaller creatures. There are strange, ghostly octopuses that float through the water, and even specialized species of shrimp that swarm the vents. One species, Remicorus exoculata, is particularly interesting. They have no eyes in the traditional sense, but they do have a sensory organ on their backs that can detect the faint infrared glow of the superheated vent water helping them navigate this dangerous, scalding landscape without getting cooked. It's a complete, complex, and bustling community, a city of life in the eternal night. Hydrothermal vents aren't the only chemosynthetic havens in the deep. Let's travel to another type of oasis, one that's a bit more gassy. These are called cold seeps. Unlike the violent, superheated water of vents, cold seeps are areas where hydrocarbons like methane and hydrogen sulfide slowly but steadily seep from the seafloor at about the same temperature as the surrounding water. The chemistry is different, but the principle is the same. Chemical energy fuels life. Here, too, you'll find vast mats of bacteria covering the seafloor, consuming the methane and sulfide. And you'll find similar communities of life. Tube worms, though usually different species, and often longer-lived than their vent cousins, also form dense bushes. Some cold seep tube worms are among the longest-living animals on Earth, with lifespans estimated to be hundreds or even thousands of years. Imagine a creature that was alive when the Roman Empire was at its peak, still living today in the darkness of the Gulf of Mexico. Mussel beds are also a common sight, forming massive reefs that can stretch for hundreds of meters, creating complex habitats for countless other animals. These deep-sea mussel beds are hotspots of biodiversity, sheltering brittle stars, sea cucumbers, snails, and crabs. The slow, steady release of energy at cold seeps allows for these more stable, long-lasting communities to develop, contrasting with the more boom-man-bust life cycle of hydrothermal vent fields, which can become inactive when the volcanic plumbing shifts. And then we have what might be the strangest of all these deep-sea feasts, whale falls. When a great whale dies in the open ocean, its massive carcass doesn't just disappear. It sinks, sometimes for miles, until it comes to rest on the abyssal plain. A single whale carcass can deliver as much organic carbon to the deep sea as thousands of years of normal. Marine snow, the slow drizzle of dead plankton from above. This sudden bounty triggers a fascinating multi-stage ecological succession. First come the mobile scavengers. Sleeper sharks, hagfish, and armies of crabs arrive within hours, feasting on the soft tissues. This stage can last for months or even years, depending on the size of the whale. Once the bulk of the flesh is gone, a new community moves in. These are the enrichment opportunists, like bone-eating worms and snails, that colonize the skeleton and any enriched sediment around it. But the final and longest stage is the sulfophilic, or sulfur-loving stage. As the bones decay, lipids inside them are broken down by bacteria, producing sulfides. This process essentially turns the whale's skeleton into a mini chemosynthetic ecosystem. It attracts sulfide-loving bacteria, which in turn support a community of mussels, clams, and worms, much like a miniature cold seep. Most famously, this is the home of Osedax, the zombie worms. These bizarre creatures have no mouth or stomach. The females secrete acid to burrow into the whale bones, creating a root-like system that absorbs nutrients with the help of symbiotic bacteria. A single whale fall can support this unique community for 50 to 100 years. It's a remarkable example of how life in the deep wastes absolutely nothing. The discovery of chemosynthesis has profoundly changed our understanding of life, not just on Earth, but potentially elsewhere in the universe. It proved that life doesn't need sunlight, just needs a liquid medium, a source of carbon, and an energy gradient. This opens up a universe of possibilities. Could life exist in the subsurface oceans of Jupiter's moon Europa or Saturn's moon Enceladus? Both are thought to have hydrothermal vents on their rocky seafloors, providing heat and chemical energy. The creatures of our own abyss could be a model for what we might one day find in the dark oceans of other worlds. Back here on Earth, these ecosystems are not just curiosities. They are vital parts of our planet's systems. They play a role in global chemical cycles and harbor incredible genetic diversity. With organisms that have developed unique biochemical solutions to extreme environments, these solutions could hold the keys to new medicines, industrial processes, and technologies. However, these fragile remote worlds are facing new threats. Deep-sea mining, the search for valuable minerals that are abundant around hydrothermal vents, poses a direct risk. Destructive mining practices could wipe out entire, unique vent communities before we've even had a chance to fully understand them. Pollution and climate change are also altering the chemistry of the deep ocean in ways we are just beginning to comprehend. It's a stark reminder that our actions on the surface have consequences that reach into the deepest, darkest corners of our planet. These chemosynthetic havens are a testament to the tenacity and creativity of life. From fiery vents to gassy seeps and the bones of fallen giants, life has found a way, crafting vibrant, complex worlds in places we once thought were empty. They challenge our assumptions and expand our imagination. The abyss isn't a void. It's a cradle of life, a world of chemical wonders, reminding us that there are always new frontiers to explore and new mysteries to solve right here on our own amazing planet. Thanks for diving with us today. If you were amazed by these incredible deep-sea creatures, hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. Let us know in the comments which of these chemosynthetic havens you found most fascinating. See you next time.